The first time I came to York, Pennsylvania, it was less than 2 days before a giant snowstorm was going to dump 2 feet of snow on the ground, which means that I got to spend extra time in York, Pennsylvania because all my flights home were jacked up. But that's a different story. I remember looking around York and getting driven through town as like there was black clouds hanging over the air as the storm was approaching, and thinking, this town looks a little hard scrabble. It's got some growing to do. I mean, it was like February of 2010, and a lot of things, there was like the White Rose, but Holy Hound hadn't opened yet. This left bank, Cobblestones was on its last legs. It was just like, not a lot happening. But I needed a job, and I've learned from working in newsrooms and stuff that you can work anywhere if you're in a newsroom, because everybody that works there is funny and passionate and witty and interesting, so it doesn't really matter where you live. So that's how I found myself in February of 2010 moving to York County. Now the other rule I have from growing up moving around a lot is that I never make fun of or look down on where I live. Because it's like, what's the point? Like, you can leave. If you don't like it, leave. Like, unless you're like an angsty 17-year-old Ed Kowalczyk, like making fun of York doesn't get you anything, right? It got him a lot though, so that was cool. But when I moved to York, I learned pretty quickly that people liked shitting on York. Like the residents, sort of professionally, were really good at it. But I kept my mouth shut, because I've lived in Texarkana, Texas, and that's way shittier than York. But slowly I looked around, I was on Twitter, I was starting to look for things. I was like, what's going on in this town? And I saw people who were trying to do things, trying to make things happen, trying to have like storytelling nights and musical events. And I tried to go to those, and if I didn't go, I tried to volunteer. And you start volunteering, and I start seeing the same people. And suddenly you kind of make relationships and friendships, because at that point there were only like 12 people volunteering for everything. So I saw the same people pretty quickly. And I grew up moving every 3 or 4 years, so I never had like a hometown. So it was weird suddenly when I would be walking around town and people were like, hey Eileen, how's it going? I was like, who are these people that know me? Like, this is crazy. Like, I didn't have that thing where you like, oh, I went to high school with them and they're my teacher's friend or something like that. And my parents came to visit and they were like, why is everybody saying hi to you? I was like, I've lived here for a long time, I guess. I don't know. So I did the math one day, and it turns out I've lived in York longer than I've lived anywhere my entire life. So yeah, it's like a hometown all of a sudden. So I had a good cry on the couch last week, when I bought a plane ticket for Seattle. Because that's step 1 of a process that means I'm moving to Seattle at the end of September. And I'm looking forward to that. Like, it's a big city. Hopefully there'll be more than 12 volunteers at things. Music, all kinds of cool stuff. And my family's all out there, so I'm looking forward to being close to them. But what I'm gonna miss, I realized, isn't just the place, it isn't like, oh, the Holy Hound, it's the passionate people that I met that were doing all these things. Because hard scrabble doesn't just mean that things are dirty and sad. It also means, to me, it indicates like people who are working and doing and like rolling up their sleeves. And that's what I'll remember about York. So, I'm just here to say, York, I'm your biggest fan. Are you crying, Kate? You're gonna make me cry now. I'm your biggest fan, York, and if you work really hard and try really hard and cross your fingers, maybe one day you can get a Wegmans.